Oh yeah. Feels good. The time has come to enjoy myself.
Hello, greetings and hi there. This is the Head Speaks podcast. Hey there, true believers. Welcome to the Task Force X Headcast. G.I. Joe, the Real American Headcast, is the code name for Aaron's daring, highly trained Headcast.
1980. Hello there. My name is Aaron Moss, and this is the Starman Manhunter Adventure Hour.
Hey, true believers. Aaron Moss, a.k.a. Brother Head, coming back at you. I was hoping to get some shows out this month, but due to life and not be able to get things worked out like I wanted to, I'm going to start releasing shows beginning of March. But this month I decided I originally wasn't going to do anything this month as far as release-wise, just work on stuff in the background. But I've recently, again, because I'm behind on my own podcast listening, heard a podcast from some friends of mine over at the Long Box Crusade, and they released a New Year's episode. I listened to it, I enjoyed it, so I decided to do what any good podcaster does, and well, steal their idea. So this is going to be my special episode, I'm going to call it. It's my 2018 review and 2019 preview. So sit back, I've got 3 different segments. First up, I'm going to look at the 2018 year in review on my different shows. Then I'm going to give some special thanks to some people. And then in the third part, a little preview of what's coming up in 2019. My plans, my thoughts. And we'll go from there. So sit back and enjoy. First up on the agenda, we're going to take a look back at 2018 at some of the things that went on with the Headcast Network and my various shows. So let's go ahead and start with G.I. Joe, a Real American Headcast. During the year, we covered 7 issues. I know it's not a lot. Things got delayed, unfortunately, but yes, we covered 7 issues. I also had the full Buzz Dixon interview from the previous year. I played that. We had The Joys of Joe. I covered that book and talked with Jim Beard about that. Also got a copy of that signed by Jim and a dozen other people, or half a dozen other people. Great book. If you haven't read that yet, I definitely recommend checking out The Joys of Joe. We had an episode with 7 guest hosts, the maximum I've ever done. That was a joy to do. It was fun. That was when we were covering issue 21. That was a fun time. That was me stretching my wings a little bit and trying to wrestle in a whole bunch of different hosts. We had a great time talking about that issue. In fact, if I remember right, Pat had such a great time. He kept talking about it, even though he wasn't on that episode. But he kept talking about that episode and that issue for the next episode or two. So that was a great time. Speaking of issue 21, I did finally cover issue 21, the silent interlude. That was the silent special issue of G.I. Joe, where Snake Eyes had to break into Destro's castle to free Scarlet, and she ended up saving him. That was a great issue, a great cover. I love Silent Interlude, and I loved having all 7 guests on there. That was a great show. That was episode 21 of the show. If you didn't check it out, go definitely listen to that episode. It was a good year in G.I. Joe. Also this year, Kevin Ritzel, a.k.a. Raider Nerd, he sent me 2 G.I. Joe comics, as I've talked about, issues 55, Unmasking, and 58, the introduction to Cobra Commander Armor. Both signed. The issue 58, the most special one to me because, again, issue 58 was the first G.I. Joe comic I bought. It was what got me going to G.I. Joe. So that was a great issue, and I thank Kevin very much for getting that for me. And again, for the Joys of Joe I talked about earlier, I got that from our Canadian Joe, Darren Kohler, over on the G.I. Joe Collectors Group, or Collectors Club. Try that again. G.I. Joe Collectors Club Canada. There we go. That's a great group. Darren's a great guy. I love getting that from him. That was a great book. I bought it digitally, but I love getting a hard copy signed by by Larry Hama and Buzz Dixon and some of the other editors and people involved with G.I. Joe. It was a great book. I love that. But yeah, G.I. Joe, Royal American Headcast. I love that group. I love all my hosts on there. I love talking G.I. Joe, both the comic and the cartoon. And we got a lot of plans for 2019. Stay tuned for those in a little bit. But enough about that. Let's go ahead and move on to another show. Head Speaks, my premiere show, the one that started it all. We got a full 12 episodes of Head Speaks this year. There was 11 episodes and then our Stan Lee special. Speaking of which, we lost Stan Lee this year. That was a great tragedy for comic book fans alike. Stan, no matter what you think, he was a great guy. He was very charismatic and very outgoing. To me, as I've talked about in that episode, I think Stan Lee made comics what they are. He's the one that was out there. He was the face and personality of all comics. It's a sad world without Stan Lee in it. Also over on Head Speaks, I started my Armageddon 2001 crossover. I've still got another 4 or 5 episodes left to go on it, but I'm enjoying that. I'm actually getting a different co-host for each episode. More on that here in a little bit. But yeah, I'm enjoying that. I'm enjoying talking about the Armageddon 2001 crossover. It's, as I'm finding out on the show, it's not as great as a crossover as I first read it. I'm finding a lot of problems I've got with it now. But overall, I'm still enjoying it. And I'm enjoying talking with people about it. That's the fun part about it. Also on Head Speaks this year, I've introduced a new segment called Behind the Podcast. Thanks to buddy Diamond Adam Worth for that idea, which I'll talk about in a little bit. I showed up on his show, The Bad Advice Show, and he asked me to host or to moderate the Behind the Podcast, where I basically talked to him about his podcast origins. He wasn't doing anything with it, so I asked him if I could use that, and he said, sure thing. So I took it and ran with it, and now I've had a couple different episodes, a couple different podcasting hosts. I'm enjoying talking to people, getting some behind-the-scenes things. It's a great segment. I love it. Moving over to Task Force X. This year I had 11 episodes, only one episode down from what I should have had. We covered the Invasion at the beginning of the year from DC Comics, and then I started covering, and I got most of the way through Janus Directive. Yeah, if I would have had 12 episodes, I might have covered the Janus Directive fully, but we'll end that up here the next month or so over on Task Force X. Over to the Starman Manhunter Adventure Hour. That show, we had 11 episodes. Again, not quite a full year. I changed things around a little bit. We started covering the books that came out each month. Before I'd done issues 1 of everything, 2, 3, and then things got a little jumbled for a little bit. And then I finally decided to, beginning of the year, once I finished up, I think it was the Invasion or something like that, I forget now. Once we got things straightened up, I decided to cover the books that came out each month. So I'm covering all of January of 1989 or whatever. Books came out February 1989 and so forth. I think that's come out pretty good. And also I started the final run of the Manhunter book. That's right. We only got a couple issues left of Manhunter before it ends. I've got to decide what I'm going to do next. Still working on that, trying to decide whether I'm just going to do just Starman books, or if I want to cover the Manhunter showing up elsewhere, or I don't know yet. I'm still working out details. Covering the 3rd Manhunter volume, which was Kate Spencer. I don't know yet. And elsewhere in the podcasting world, and related to my shows. First off, I changed the release dates for Head Speaks and G.I. Joe, a Royal American Headcast. I had G.I. Joe coming out first, and then the second week I do Head Speaks. Since Head Speaks is my premiere show, the one I started first, I figured I'd switch those two around, and I started releasing Head Speaks first, and then G.I. Joe, a Real American Headcast. Again, not a big change, but something makes, again, since since Head Speaks is my major show, the one that started it all, I figured it'd be nice to have that one come out first. And as far as guest hosting elsewhere, I don't have it on my list, but I did on the DC OCD podcast, where they're covering all the DC Universe events. I did have I was a semi-OCD host over on their show, covering the Armageddon 2001. I sent my opinions and my thoughts in. They read it on the air. That was fun. Also, I was on 2 episodes of the DC Comics Presents shows. Episode 90 with my buddy Jay Jones, talking about Firestorm and Captain Atom meeting up with Superman. And then I was on issue 92 myself, talking about Superman and Vigilante. That was Russell Bragg's The DC Comics Presents show, which is finishing up. I think he's got like 1 episode left, maybe 1 or 2 episodes left. But he's finishing up that. That was a great show. Definitely check out those shows and episodes. I mentioned this earlier, the Bad Advice Show, episode 40, where we had Behind the Podcast with Adam Worth. I interviewed him. I talked about that earlier. I'm not going to go into more detail on that. But check out the Bad Advice Show, episode 40. That was a great time. The Long Box Crusade, 12 Days of Crusademas 2018. I was on episode 4, talking about G.I. Joe Special Missions. I think it was number 5. That was a great comic. I'll get to that eventually on my own G.I. Joe or Real American Headcast show. But I enjoy talking with the Crusaders about G.I. Joe Special Missions. Thanks for having me on, guys. It was a great episode. And finally, for elsewhere, the Long Box Crusade, episode number 14, where I talked about Checkmate 15 and Starman 10. And we also talked about Daredevil and Transformers, but as far as my interests go, I was on there mainly for Checkmate 15, and we also talked about Starman 10, as I mentioned. Both comics I covered and have covered. Comics I love. Again, thank you very much, Pat, Jared, Jason, Delvin, for having me on both the Crusademas and that episode. I enjoy talking comics with you guys. You guys got some great shows. I love them. But that would be 2018 for the Headcast Network in Review. That's everywhere I've appeared. Brief rundowns on all my shows. Definitely check out my shows if you guys are interested in any of them. Let me know. Give me some feedback. Let me know what you think. And if you're listening to the shows I appeared on, DC Comics Presents, Bad Vice Show, or the Long Box Crusade shows, definitely let them know what you thought. They would definitely love to hear from you guys. But that's it for the first segment. Like I say, not too bad. This is maybe a short episode. We'll see. A little 10 minutes in. And now let's go and move on to the next section. This is where I'm going to give special thanks to the people that's either been on my show or has had me on their shows. I appreciate these people very much, and I just want to give them an extra special thanks. So, just a list of names, I'm going to read them off. Let's get started. And this is an alphabetical list. I hope I got everybody. If I missed somebody, please let me know. But we're going to start off with Adam Worth, Ben Avery, Brad Abraham, the great Buzz Dixon, Clinton Robinson, Jared Albrecht, a.k.a. the Yard Sale Artist.
That's a prescription for danger.
His brother, Jason Albrecht, the wonderful and talented Jim Beard, John Jack, my great buddy over on DC in the 80s, Justin Francoeur. When I know I'm messing your name up, buddy, I'm sorry about that. Kevin Reitzel, a.k.a. Raider Nerd, Kyle Benning, Kyle Wagner, the fantastic Superman-oriented Superman Master,
faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings at a single bound. Look, up in the sky, it's a bird.
It's a plane.
Michael Bailey. From Down Under, there's Mike Harvey, Nathaniel Wayne, my buddy, Peppy Pep Sampson, a.k.a. Christatos. Also from Down Under, Paul Hicks, the great, the wonderful Paul Kupperberg, fantastic writer, I love him. Ryan Daly, the irredeemable Shag, who's also one of the godfathers of my show. Thank you very much for everything, Shag. Tom Panarese, and finally, but definitely not least, the wonderful and popular and talented Professor Zoom Yukinori. I want to thank you all for either appearing on my show or sending in thoughts or letting me on your shows. Whatever you've done to help out, I appreciate it. And these are some extra special thanks I wanted to give you guys. And also let me give special thanks, even though they weren't on my show, not as of yet. From over on the G.I. Joe Canada Collectors page, I want to give extra special thanks to Darren Kohler and Chris Gall for helping to support me and my G.I. Joe insanity. Thanks, guys. Thank you guys for all you do. I appreciate it. Like I said, it's a quick segment, so we're going to quickly move on to the third part of the show. What's coming in 2019? This is across the Headcast Network, what I have planned, and what I may show up elsewhere. So let's go get started. I'm going to try to get my podcast out on time this year. Not off to a great start. The first couple of months, I haven't got anything out other than, I say last month's and then this one for February. I'm working on it. I'm going to finish the Armageddon 2001 crossover over in Head Speaks, and then I'll probably be starting the Power of the Atom series, unless something else pops up first. But I've been working on that Armageddon 2001 crossover. I've had special guests each episode. I should be finishing that in the next 3-4 months, I believe it is. And then I got plans. I want to start going over the Power of the Atom. It was an 18-issue series covering the atom. It takes place after the specials that I've covered already. Looking forward to that. Love that series. Also this year on Head Speaks, I should be hitting episode 50. The big 5-0 for Head Speaks. Also, speaking of episodes 50, I should be hitting episode 50 of Task Force X sometime this year. 2 shows, both hitting episode 50. Should have been there already, or sooner than I am now, but it is what it is. I'm going to do a commentary track for the Suicide Squad movie over on Task Force X. In fact, that's already done. That'll be out in the next probably 2 months. Finish reviewing The Manhunter on the Starman Manhunter Adventure podcast, as I've talked about. We're coming up at issue 24, which is the last issue of Manhunter. And then I'm just debating how to handle it next. He's got a couple more appearances before he vanishes. I may cover those. There was a Manhunter, a third volume with, I think it was the third volume, covering Kate Spencer. Wasn't into the series at the time. I may give that a look and maybe cover that. We'll see. What do you guys think? Let me know. Do you want to hear me cover the Kate Spencer Manhunter book? If I don't cover that, I'll at least cover Mark Shaw's appearances in there, but wait and see. Over on G.I. Joe, a Real American Headcast, I've started a Facebook group. I had the Facebook page. I decided to do a group. So if you guys haven't seen it yet, go check it out. Look for groups for G.I. Joe, a Real American Headcast. Same name as my podcast. Join us. We're having a lot of fun talking G.I. Joe, the comics, toys, cartoons, whatever you guys want to talk about. Post images of your favorite things. Go ahead and join up over there. Let me know. Also over on G.I. Joe, a Real American Headcast. Here coming up soon, we're going to cover the Snake Eyes Origin Duology. Issues 26 and 27 of G.I. Joe, a Real American Hero, where they kind of give you some background on Snake Eyes and give you his origin in quotes. Looking forward to that. That was a great little... Again, it wasn't a separate series or anything. It was within the regular books, but most of us consider it its own little story. Looking forward to that. That was a great storyline. Also this year, I'm going to start a new podcast. In fact, that should come out next month. Not necessarily a new podcast, but it's an offshoot. As I've been talking about my new G.I. Joe podcast, I'm going to call it Bravo Team. So twice a month, you should be hearing some G.I. Joe from me. G.I. Joe, a Real American Headcast. We're going to keep covering the comic book and the cartoon. And then over on Bravo Team, we're going to cover everything else. The toys, the other comics that's not related to the American Hero, the other cartoons, movies, anything I feel like covering, we'll cover over on Bravo Team. The first episode, we're going to finish up our December Christmas episode where I covered the action figures. Bring some of the guys back, and we're going to talk about the vehicles for that wave. So definitely check that out. That's ready to go. Just getting some work on that kind of stuff. Also, I'm looking at starting up. It's something I've talked about. I was going to start in January, but things have delayed me. I'm still looking into things. I'm thinking about starting a Headcast Patreon. A Patreon for all my shows. If you want to help out, kick a few bucks into the tin, I'd appreciate it. Keep your eye out for more information on that. That should be coming soon. I'm just working out the details, what I'm going to give away for this, what I'm going to do, how to do it. Working on all the details. Hopefully that should be done soon. And also, I should be appearing on the Wild Pod, covering 3 issues of Action Comics Weekly, talking about Wild Dog. I love the Wild Dog character. Buddy J. Jones asked me to help out because he's trying to get that finished off, so I'm jumping in and helping out. and covering a couple issues. I've already got those recorded, sent to them, so I'm just waiting for them to finish it up and release it. I will keep you guys informed on my pages, on my groups and all that when that gets released. And you know what? That's all I've really got planned. I mean, to me, that's a lot, but that's what I got going on this year on the Headcast Network. Gonna start Patreon, got another show coming out. Let's see what else. Gonna hit some 50th episodes in some of these books. And some great times. So let me know what you guys think. I love hearing from you guys. Go ahead and send me some email, send me some feedback. You can send me feedback at headspeaks.com. You can also go to any of my pages or the G.I. Joe group and leave me comments there. You can also leave reviews on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcasts from. In fact, if you do listen to me through Apple Podcasts, go over there and give us a rating, give us a review. I'd love to hear from you guys on any of my shows you listen to. If you listen to all 4 of them, leave me reviews for all 4. I'd appreciate it. I'd love to hear from you guys. Let me know what you guys think. As far as like the Bravo team, what kind of stuff would you like to hear me cover on that? Would you like to hear more of the toys, more of the comics? Let me know what you guys would like to hear about on that. Patreon, what kind of offers, what kind of gifts should I give out to you guys for helping out on the Patreon? I wouldn't mind hearing about that from you guys. And also over on my Starman Manhunter Venture Hour, how should I handle Manhunter's upcoming appearances? Let me know. Would love to hear from you guys. But like I said, it's going to be a short episode, less than half an hour. I'm not going to do any promos or anything this time. It's just going to be me talking. But I guess that's going to do it. Let me know what you guys think. As I keep saying, I want to hear from you. I love to interact with you guys. I love hearing from everybody. But until next month, when my shows hopefully get back onto a regular basis and start coming back out, thank you all for listening. Thank you all very much for your support. And until next time, remember, Ed has spoken.